Welcome to the Monday Morning Wake Up Call with your host, Kerry, managing broker at Remax Elite, and Heather Holiday, your social marketing nut.
Good morning.
Happy Monday morning, everybody.
Monday morning after a time change, right?
I know. Oh my gosh.
And you were out on the boat all day, so I was wondering what sunburn you would be, because I think you have the same skin as me, is 15 minutes and I'm a lobster.
I was sunscreening nonstop and it did not help one bit.
Really?
So I kept spraying down with sunscreen. Yes. And everybody was looking at me like, you need to put sunscreen on. I'm like, I keep putting sunscreen on. So, but I have to say, it was a beautiful day in sunny Florida. Not to make everybody jealous, but check out my Facebook page and pictures of us.
You and everybody else down there.
Yep.
And here I'm like sitting there working. I was like, well, it's the spring is starting to come. So Leo this morning is like, you need to get out because spring is here, and like all the trees are starting to have all these white little buds on them, and there's like yellow flowers driving down the road everywhere. So spring is coming. And last year, that was when everything kind of shut down. So it's not like you were out on the road because you didn't know what was happening with anything. Right. So I feel like completely missed spring just because everything was just life was just crazy. We didn't know. I mean, it was all about toilet paper at that time, I think.
Right.
So it was like, it's like, you don't know. Like, I don't want to waste my gas just driving around, going on the parkway or I don't know.
Right.
Because there was so much of the unknown. So I really feel I miss spring. So now I'm like, okay, I need to look at my calendar, what's going on, because next week I'll be in Florida. I don't want to miss spring like I did last year. And I think it'll probably be really good when we get back, or it's probably going to happen. I don't know. So hopefully I will make time this week to actually go.
Well, spring has definitely sprung. And so just a quick note, here's your little R4 box.
Don't forget it.
I won't.
And make sure, you get there in time to get me everything before our first class.
There's some goodies in here. I'll just show just a couple of things. So our credentials showing that we're attendees. I think somewhere in here.
So what is that? What does the QR code do?
I have no idea. I could try that out. Hang on.
You haven't even tried that? I've been like,
no, I worked all day Friday, and this was on my desk, and I ran in for like 2 minutes, opened it up quickly, and then ran back out and was still working and worked all day Saturday, so I haven't even had a chance. And now my phone's going crazy with all these alerts, so... Oh, there we go. Let's see, where does it bring me to? Oh, I touched it and it didn't work. Hang on. Apparently I don't know what I'm doing.
You just put the camera.
I know, and then it gave me a thing that it was taking me to, and it didn't go. Oh, wait, there we go. Contents. Okay, here we go. It doesn't go anywhere.
Oh, it's just there?
It looks like there aren't any great matches for your search is what it says. So I'll have to play with it a little later. So
and then I'm going to do your QR code so you can just put it on one of those stickers and stick it right on top of it.
Stick it right on there. And then there's a mask.
I saw the mask, so that's cool.
Some hand sanitizer. And then all our bling is in the envelope, which for those of you who've been to a Remax convention, and if you haven't, but all your things that you are. So certified luxury home specialist, CRS, ePro, 100% Club, which was my award for this year, and Hall of Fame, which I've had for a few years. So it's very exciting. It'll be very exciting I'm sure, for Candace, who got her Hall of Fame this year. And so she'll get to wear her Hall of Fame on her badge. And we also have Steve Vitani going, and he's also a Hall of Famer. And I'm sure he'll be excited to see all his bling that's in his box.
Because it'll be his first time going to
It's his
R4.
first time, yeah. I think he's excited. So he's been
wanting to go for years, but
for years. So it worked out now that it's in our backyard, and Pitbull is performing. It should be an interesting event. Everybody sanitized and masked up, and seeing all of our referral partners from other Remaxes around the country and around the globe.
It'll be different because I'm sure we won't have that global. I'll miss seeing all my international people, and then we have different colored lanyards. So, that decides how comfortable you are.
Yeah, right. You got to choose a color based on
how
please
comfortable you are.
Away from me. You can get a little closer as long as you're wearing a mask, or I'm happy to be close to you. So there's a little bit.
I got the green, which is I'm good to go, and I also bought light up bracelets that are green.
It'll be interesting. I mean, because normally, I don't know how many people are normally in attendance when it's normally in Las Vegas. They limited it to 2,000 people in the convention center this year. Good morning, Rob. And so it'll be interesting. It's
hybrid, so it's R4 your way. So a lot of the classes that are virtual, I mean, people are there, but all of the classes are also like virtual. So it's almost like a hybrid. So I am curious how they're going to be able to make like the live classes. So I'm doing a class on Thursday morning, and it is on the virtual. So people that are going virtually are able to add that. So I don't know. So it'll be interesting how they're able to do that. But I do know it looks a lot like when we did the broker convention I think it was my first virtual, and it was a lot better than I actually thought. And I thought, well, one good thing that comes out of COVID is you can do a lot more classes and training because you don't have to leave for a week, and the flights and the hotel and, the cars.
Correct.
There's just a lot that goes on when you want to travel.
It's funny. On Friday, it was the state of Florida Realtors District 2 convention. So District 2 is kind of us, Daytona, New Smyrna, and we had the District 2 convention, and what I said to some people there was, I'm overbooking myself with Zoom meetings because I'll reply yes to anything that looks interesting to me, but then there's not enough time in the day to attend all the trainings. And you and I like to go to trainings. We like to continue to learn and always be keeping up on new stuff. And so we like to do that when it was in person. So could you imagine what I'm like not in person? Everything I'm offered, I'm clicking, I'll go. And I don't, and I can't make them all. But the District 2 conference was great. The NAR, National Association of Realtors chief economist spoke, and it was really, really good and really informative. And what I was really impressed by, and he spoke via Zoom. I mean, so it's on the, Zoom. He took the time to get information about Florida and speak specifically to our specific area, which I thought was really great. So he knew about, how much we have in technology and all the tech and engineers coming into town, and why our economy here in Brevard County and in Volusia County is really doing well. Yes, Dennis, Zoom overload for sure. So it'll be nice for us to get into some.
I am looking forward to doing a live class. Yeah. I mean, I'm so used to doing live classes. The one good thing about COVID was being able to do a lot of Zooms, and, whether I'm doing classes or just joining for the weekly, especially when, all of this first hit, and being able to do this for, brokers all over. I mean, I've had meetings from Canada down to Hawaii. So that's been pretty cool to be able to do that. But it is so hard doing a class on the computer.
Yeah.
Because it's just not as interactive, no matter how many times I say, like, unmute yourself unless you got a dog barking or you take a phone call.
Right.
Like, I need it to be interactive. Otherwise, I just feel like I'm talking to a screen.
Right.
That's hard because sometimes you know, when you're in a live class, you get the deer in the headlight looks, or people I think are, and then I know to like slow it down, or people are like, yeah, like that's so basic. And you know, it all depends on who you're with. And that's been super hard for me because I feel like I'm talking to a screen and it's not as engaging. The StreamYard does make it a lot more engaging. So that's why we do those like every Thursday, because that is at least somewhat engaging when people are chatting and asking questions that way. But I miss people.
Right.
I miss people.
Which is a good segue into today's topic, which is standing out by establishing credibility. And a lot of what we're going to talk about is the whole like being prepared, engaging with the clients, engaging with the potential listing, and being ready. So here's a couple of things that you can do if you're not doing to stand out from the crowd, as they say. So the first is gather information. Whether it's a buyer or a seller, make sure you're engaging with them. You're asking them questions. You know, some of us have a buyer questionnaire and a seller questionnaire so that you can, you know, get some of those questions out in the very beginning so you understand, you know, some of the things that are on our buyer questionnaire is, you know, what's your time frame? What's your plan? I mean, because you need to know where are they going next. And the same with the buyers. What's your time frame? Are you renting? Is your lease up not until September? So you don't really want to buy until August because you don't want to break the lease or have to pay the lease. So make sure if you get a good questionnaire so that you can find out, get, you know, some of those questions out in the beginning that you need to know in an effort to prepare yourself to have a conversation, especially, well, with buyers and sellers, but especially with sellers, knowing what their end goal is important, you know?
Right. I mean, you need to know the why and the importance, time frame, all of that is super important. I know we did all of that whenever, you know, we've done any of the coaching things, but I mean, for both levels, but I mean, we're in a crazy market. So the more that you can gather intel, the more you're going to be able to help, because I think on both ends, you really need to come up with a game plan, because you really need to prepare the buyer or seller for the market that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I know we're talking about establishing credibility, and that is preparing for what this crazy market is. Whether buyers or sellers want to believe you or you know, I don't know, but
sometimes it takes time, or it takes a loss of an offer to a multiple offer situation, maybe more than one time, before they realize that you're not just trying to make them buy this house.
No, I mean, it's the same. My husband's the same way. He's that wheeler and dealer. He always wants to feel he has a deal, and even though, like, I'm like, no, this isn't Craigslist. Like, we're trying to buy a house. You know, there's multiple offers, and this was a year and a half ago. There's nothing now where I'm at. There's no way I would even attempt to do that. But we had to lose it. I mean, it basically took, we're going to be homeless because our house closes X days. We can't rent a house because we have too many horses as dogs, you know? Like, I'm not living in a camper with 2 kids and 2 ginormous dogs. So you need to knock it off. And it finally took that moment is when he was like, okay, you're right. You know,
you're right. We can't play the negotiating game anymore.
Right. We got to get serious. I mean, and it was almost like then at that point, it's like we can only look at houses that are vacant, because no, you know, it had to be like a 3-week close.
Ready to
close. But whatever. So it's like, we have to find the desperate people. So trying to find a home like that. But I think, you know, maybe if there's stories or just some way that you can prepare the buyers and sellers on
but that is, the why is for sure the biggest, because that helps you get the roadmap of how this is going to happen, you know?
Right.
For sure. You know, it's funny because we all see these houses where they're just over decorated and over pictured and over knick-knacked. And it can be uncomfortable telling somebody, you know, you got to get rid of your stuff. But I always say,
so start packing.
That's what I always say. Our goal is to move, right?
And I mean, that was always my thing, is you don't want someone to walk into your house and see your stuff and just feel like they're visiting somebody. You need somebody to be able to envision their stuff and them living and their family in this home. And if you have all these family photos and just all of your knickknacks, and like, declutter, start packing, you're going to be doing it anyway. So
because you're leaving anyway. You're leaving anyway. So you might as well start the packing now. And it lets buyers know you're going, because if they see the boxes stacked neatly in the garage or stacked neatly in a closet, they look at it and say, oh, they're getting ready to go, as opposed to, oh my gosh, will this seller be out in 30 days?
Right. Right.
So another is leave a listing folder behind. So when you go for a listing appointment, you're going over so much information, whether it's stats and statistics, or information about yourself, or information about your company. Leave them something behind that they can hold in their hand, look at, refer back to. It looks professional, so they know that you're a professional, because that's how you establish credibility, is that they understand that you are a professional. And I'll just say, I don't, what I would say, give away the farm at a listing appointment. When they want to know, what should I do? Do I need to declutter, or do I need to do this? Or do you have a handyman, or do you have a painter? I usually say, well, we go through the whole listing presentation. We talk about pricing. Once we've decided we're going to work together, then I'm going to tell you what to do. So I save my checklists for, how to declutter your house and stuff till after I've already got the listing agreement. But I do leave them a folder with information about RE/MAX, information about RE/MAX Elite, information about Kerry Ramage, information about the market in general, and the information kind of the steps from start to close. Because I think a lot of times sellers think, oh, we just put it in the MLS and that's the end of that. And that's really not what happens. I mean, the brunt of the work really comes from when you have offers until when you close that property, especially in a market like this, where we're getting multiple offers and people are bidding over ask. And then you're marking it under contract, and 2 days later, that buyer's having buyer's remorse and they want to cancel. Now you have to go back to the other buyers and try to procure one of those. And you want to make sure you're picking the one who really wants the house, not the one who's just bidding it to win, who may change their mind.
I mean, I feel for everybody in this market, no matter which side you're on. It's a super tough market.
It is. And sellers are having a hard time making decisions. I mean, I think people think, oh, sellers, multiple offers, it's so easy. It's really not, because many times you're getting so many offers that are all so similar, and nobody wants to squash somebody else's dreams, so it's a difficult situation. The other is allocate enough time. Make sure when you're meeting with your client that you've made enough time to talk to them. That way, when you are talking to them, you're engaging, they feel like you're listening. I mean, it's much less about you and presenting who you are and how great you are, although that's very important. You did get there because they found you or picked you, or you got a referral in some way where they have an idea that you're successful, but it's about the engagement and asking them the questions.
Right. I mean, there's nothing worse than being on an appointment and having someone constantly check their phone to see what time it is. So make sure you set up enough time so that, if you do end up talking and getting that rapport, you're not like, oh my gosh, I only gave us 45 minutes and, I have another thing to do, or Make sure you just have enough time.
Well, especially in our market here, where a lot of our sellers are seniors.
Yes.
And they have a lot of questions. It might be a long time since they've sold a home, and so they have a lot of questions.
It might be a long time since they've been around people and they just like talking.
All that too.
Great stories.
That too. That is so true. We so at the District 2 conference, the keynote speaker was a woman, Jan Hargrave is her name. She's from Houston, Texas. She is a body language specialist. So when you were doing this, I mean, we were talking about that sort of stuff, and it reminded me, most people don't wear watches anymore, but people are wearing Apple Watches, and every time the text or the email or the something, and it reminds me, I was somewhere recently, I can't remember who had the Apple Watch on, and they kept looking at it, and the other person said, it was, if I recall, it wasn't a business setting, but I remember going to myself, oh my gosh, this in a business setting would be horrible. And the person said, do you have to be somewhere? And the other person was like, oh no, it's just my text and my email going off.
And that's, I've seen that, like just me being in meetings, and it's just, and I'm like, you know what? I thought about getting one, and I'm like, I have enough distractions in my life. I do not need anything else.
That's exactly why I haven't gotten one, because I am already, for those of you who know me, I mean, my phone is like attached I would say attached at the hip, but it's attached at the hand.
Right.
And I'm surprised I don't have carpal tunnel syndrome yet. And you have to take that time to put the phone to the side, focus on the person that you're speaking to. Again, yes, Dennis, it's super annoying, and you want to engage with those people. I mean, if they feel like you're not engaged and truly listening to their needs and their why, they're
not important.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think as I don't want time evolves, as the world evolves, and we're so different from, I mean, when I started in real estate, and it wasn't that long ago, 20 years ago, we would hand deliver the offers to the other offices. I mean, we don't do that anymore. I mean, we literally went to the other person's office to say, is Susie here? Please give this envelope to Susie. It's an offer for her listing. So as we evolve and we get more technology, we have to find ways, though, to not let technology make us appear unprofessional.
I think we just need to use it to our advantage.
Yeah.
Just like Tavia, like muting it. I mean, my phone's always on do not disturb.
Mine is too.
Because otherwise, my husband it drives him crazy because my phone is nonstop.
Well, the dinging would make me go crazy. I remember
it makes my husband go crazy, so I just have it on do not disturb. It's still like next to me.
Right. You just have to check it however often you check it, because that's how my phone is too. But I check it off. And I remember years ago when I first got separated from my husband, I gave him a special phone ring, and it was like this, like kind of like a Martian. And every time it would ring, I would be like, and then I was like, oh God, okay, I got to change that. I can't have him on the ringer. And that's kind of when I started muting stuff, because but you still like to have the phone closed for whatever reason. You want to, answer it when it rings, or you want to. I have a mother who's 84 years old and kids. So, but don't let your technology, like you said, use it to your advantage. Don't let it make you look unprofessional. So, and here's another, have a set routine. And this is much easier when you've been in the business 20 years or 25 years or even 5 years. I know what I'm going to do every time I walk through someone's front door for a listing appointment. I do the exact same thing every single time. And sellers usually say, what would you like to do? Do you want to sit at the table first, or do you want to walk around the house first? And I always, for me, this is how I'm most comfortable, is I walk around the house first and I have them take me on the tour. But have a set routine. Whatever works for you, do it the exact same way every time, especially if it's working for you. Now, if it's not working for you, you need to work on that routine and find something that works. But that's why it's great to have an accountability partner or a person that you work scripts with, so that you get it down. I remember when I first started, I took a class. I couldn't tell you who the gentleman who taught it was, but it was this whole listing presentation thing. We had this book and we built this whole thing, and we worked on, and I learned at that time, I can't use the person who's teaching words exactly as they're written. I have to make it my own, get my routine down, because it has to feel genuine. And, but make sure you're practicing it and you have your set routine.
I know even when I first started, I had like a mentor and we would just go through her house. She showed me how she showed houses, and it was stuff that you never really thought about, having your back and always knowing where exits were. And I mean, for safety purposes. And it's something I never thought about. But just as you're touring the home, you do see different knickknacks or photos. You can, if there's a commonality there, that's going to help you build that rapport. If you like the same college team or football team, or, your kids went to the same school, as you're, touring the home, you're going to be able to find different things of something that you have in common. That's going to help you build that rapport.
Well, yeah, that's huge. Actually, that's huge. I mean, a lot of times you'll go into someone's office and you'll see their college diploma, or I had a listing where the gentleman had retired from the FBI, and my sister's retired from the FBI, so we got to talk about that. Actually, I had another one where the gentleman was retired from the FBI. Again, at the time, my sister was still working. Come to find out, he knew my sister. They had worked together in Miami. So that gave us,
it gives you that
trust, my in. Trust. I was Patty Farrick's sister. That gave me all the credibility I needed. But I never knew this walking into his house. It wasn't until I walked into the bedroom that was an office, I saw it and I said, oh, wow, yeah, my sister, her husband, both,
I mean, that takes us into the next, which is building that rapport.
Yeah.
And just, you have to be able to build that know, like, and trust with anybody.
Yeah. It's always know, like, and trust. People want to feel like they know you, they want to like you, and they want to trust you. And if any one of those three things is missing, it's probably not going to happen. You're not going to make a connection with this person. And maybe they will still give you the listing, but it will probably not be an easy transaction. You'll have to jump over some hurdles to get them to trust you when you get to the negotiating and the offer part. And I always say that, again, in my listing appointments with people. So after we walk around the house and then we sit down at the kitchen table and we start to chat about stuff, I say to them, we have to feel comfortable with each other, because although especially in this market, we'll probably only be around each other for 30 to 60 days, but they're 30 to 60 very important days in your life. And if you don't feel comfortable with me, or I don't feel comfortable with you, this is not going to work, So it's you definitely have to build the rapport and like you said, know, like, and trust. Do your homework. Do your homework. Go in there. I say this all the time. I'm a big stats person. So know what's going on in their neighborhood. And so for those of you in Florida, almost everything we have is an HOA. Not always. We have parts of the county that are an HOA, but not only know specifically that HOA. So I'll just use Oak Park, for example. Don't just know Oak Park. You need to know Suntree or Suntree South, or the area that you're in, so that because chances are they've been watching the housing market on the internet, and they'll say, oh, Jimmy's house sold for this, or Susie's house sold for that. Know your information. Do your homework when you're walking in. So because many times they have the information wrong, and that way you can say, oh no, this is what Susie's house sold for. Let me show you this. It was really only on the market for this many days or this many days. So know your homework, do your homework, and do your homework to the best of your ability about their home as well. And that can be part of your questionnaire when you're on the phone with them. Just, tell me about your house a little bit. And that way, when you walk in the front door, you're ready. And that helps. That helps with the whole.
I know that's one of your biggest pet peeves too, is somebody calls and says, can you come over in an hour?
Oh gosh.
And that's like one of your biggest pet peeves, is you don't say yes, because now you're basically taking away that homework time for you to do your research, to be able to be knowledgeable in front of them. You just completely take away that. And now you're vulnerable because you're desperate.
Right. Correct.
I know
Exactly. And I know it's hard when you get the phone call and the seller's like,
especially in a market like now where everybody wants to
here
listen. It's like, yes, I'll be there in 10 minutes. Like you know, you're taking away that time for you to be able to do that research and homework.
and then I just say that to them. I mean, be honest. Well, usually it's, I'm sorry, I already have an appointment, because usually you do. And I need the time to do a little homework so that I come prepared, so that I have all of the information about your neighborhood and what's going on specific to you, and I'm ready for that.
Right. Because I think otherwise you just kind of go in there and just, not that you need to make something up, but you're not going to be establishing that credibility, because you're not really going to know what the last 4 houses down the street sold for. And they're probably going to know that, you know, because if they're considering putting their housing up, they know what houses went on the market, how fast they were. You totally need to know that. And any of the other specifics, whatever you can find out, because that's pertinent to the sale of their home.
Yes.
So don't say, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'll be there in an hour. Give yourself enough time to do that research yourself to really know what's going on.
Exactly. And then the last is, I mean, at the end of the day, the ultimate goal is to reach an agreement. So come prepared to take that listing. You know, come prepared to take that listing and set the expectations for how you're going to perform during this transaction, so that it's a win-win situation. And what's interesting to me, I'm just learning every time I do another transaction, I think to myself, oh, I need to add that to my list of reminding the seller what to do, because I always think you just always think, like, I have a couple, I just did my 7th closing with them, and it's like the 7th closing in 5 years. So it's a lot. And I forget, you know, they don't do this every day. And, you know, sometimes I forget to say, oh, yes, well, no, your stuff is going to be on a truck for at least 24 to 48 hours. You're probably going to have to stay in a hotel. But I forget that I need to address this up front. With them, we were lucky. We had the best sellers ever, and they agreed to let my people put stuff in the garage for 2 weeks before closing. And then the day before closing, they allowed them to have the movers come and put all the stuff in the house. And they allowed them to put their 130-pound dog in his crate in the house while we went to closing. But we had to set this up, you know, after we were already under contract. And the thing, when my seller was like in a panic, what am I going to do about the dog and the kids? And I'm like, remember, you're going to have to stay in a hotel, because that's what you did last time. But it's a reminder to myself that I need to set the expectations for the win-win right at the time that we sign the listing.
Yeah, I think that's one of my biggest pet peeves is, I think sometimes, you know, as agents, you get so comfortable and you do this every single day that you forget what it's like to be that buyer or seller and to know those full expectations.
Yeah.
And I think it's great when you guys buy or sell, because it almost reminds you and puts you back in that mindset, and what a big deal this is. And all the things I know, even me relocating. I mean, yes, I knew everything that there was to know, but when I moved to a different state, I don't know anything.
Right.
So, you know, it's like
different in different states too.
Everything is different. So not knowing what to expect. And I think a lot of agents forget that part, especially if you do have someone relocating to your city. You have to think as somebody that's never been there before, has no idea what's going on.
Right. Exactly. So for the weekly activity, we're at that time where we're getting close to the end of the first quarter. It's time to do your business planning review. Are you 25% to your goal for 2021? And if you're not, start looking at what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you, where you need to make adjustments so that you can pick up the slack for what happened in first quarter, make up for it in second quarter so that you can reach your goal for 2021.
Absolutely. And so next week we have no show. The week after that, I think we're doing a little recap from, you know, our top nuggets that we got from the convention. And then the week after that, we are doing a Q2 business checkup really kind of going more into detail on that. So stay on the lookout for that. And let's see, words of wisdom is be brave enough to live your life, live the life of your dreams according to your vision and purpose instead of the expectations of others.
I like that.
And I thought that was kind of deep because I think in order to be, I like to be a little different. I like to be, we're always saying that, in our market is every time we do something, other offices will just completely come in and do whatever we do. And I just like that I make everyone work really hard because my brain is a scary place to be. And there's always more that I can be doing. So I don't like to do what everyone else is doing. I like to take the stuff that people are doing and add a little, I don't even know, like pixie dust on, a little bit of steroids, whatever you want to call it. Like I just I like to add a little more to anything I'm doing.
Exactly. And not to someone else's expectations, to your own expectations.
Yes. And I have very high expectations because my brain is a scary place to be. And I don't know, like I dream about work. So it's like, and I can't wait to get up just to be able to do this. But I think that's it for this week. So we'll see you in 2 weeks. I'll probably go live at some point while we're at R4 because it will be an interesting week for sure. But until then, wake up, kick ass, and repeat. And we'll see you guys then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.